Well struck, Witcher. You win. But perhaps you'd care to tell me why you meddled in a matter not yours.
Wanted to prevent further bloodshed.
Well, well. The Witcher with the heart of gold. Unsavoury as it seems, there is a silver lining. At least you now know I don't easily lose my head. Release him.
I'm getting off cheap, mate.
Welcome back to another Witcher character lore video. So after a suggestion from this user, I decided to make today's video on Olgierd von Everec. So in today's video, I'm going to go over some basic information of this character, basic bits that happened to him throughout the Hearts of Stone DLC, then I'm actually going to read his full story. So normally what I do is I'd read a bit of the story, and then I'd sort of do some information at the end, but I decided for this awesome character, that to cover him properly, I need to explain everything that happens in the games, as it's not exactly apparent unless you pay close attention to every detail. So anyway, let me begin with basic information on Olgierd. So this character was first introduced in the Hearts of Stone DLC. It's not a character from the books, but it's definitely from the games, as we know. So it does fit the game lore, which is what I generally cover on this channel. I do obviously delve into book lore a lot, but just for people that play the games, it's cool to know more about these characters. So when you first meet him in the games, he posts a contract to clear a monster from the sewers in Oxenfurt. You do find out eventually it's not a monster, and it's in fact a prince, but we'll get into all that a bit later. So Olgierd possesses the ability to summon demons from other worlds. It's not quite explained how. We're not sure if it's a gift given by Gaunter or he had this gift originally. It's a little bit confusing. It's not exactly explained whether he had it before or after he met Gaunter, but all will be explained. And also he made a pact with Gaunter O'dimm, which is pretty basic information about him. So that was just the basic info. Now this is his full story up to the start of Hearts of Stone, and I will do a basic cover of Hearts of Stone, but very basic, because this story is very long. So buckle in. I've written about 1,000 words worth of notes that I'm going to fill in my own here and there, so let's see how well this goes. Olgierd von Everec was born in the earlier years of the 13th century to Bohumil and Christina von Everec. So his family was actually an ancient and respected family. Their wealth was widely known, and they were just one of the more important families within the Witcher world. So in his earlier life, Olgierd grew up at von Everec estate with his younger brother, Vladimir von Everec. Whilst growing up, both him and his brother learnt how to not only shoot, fight and read, but also how to ride horses. So this gives you an idea that not only were they rich, but they also had a very privileged upbringing, unlike say the peasants who just learned how to farm. So as both Olgierd and Vladimir began to grow up, they created a group of fellow nobleborns. So Olgierd was the leader of this group, Vladimir was his second in command, and from there we don't really know, but we can assume they were probably all at the bottom of the pile compared to those two. So what this group was, is that it was basically almost a bandit group. They would raid Velen and other Temerian lands, they would create chaos and cause the locals to become afeared at the mere mention of the name Olgierd. They gained quite a reputation for being sort of, I suppose you could describe it as hooligans. It's not like they needed the money, they were rich enough, they did this for fun. So sometime during this period of Olgierd's life when he was raiding with his brother and having fun, he met someone whom he thought would actually be the love of his life. And as you may know if you've played the games, this was Iris. So he asked her to marry him, and they became betrothed. So we know that they were together in the Witcher games, and this is basically how he just met her one day, decided he loved her, asked the father for permission, and became her betrothed. So later on in Olgierd's life, his family was actually struck by a series of unfortunate events. To begin with, the family invested poorly in a sawmill, so they lost a lot of money on that, and then they developed some debts. They lost a lawsuit, and on top of all of that, their harvest around that time was terrible, so they made no money off what their wealth is from. They lost a lot of money, and they developed a lot of debts, and they also lost a lawsuit, so all their savings are gone. So that's how their family went from riches to rags. So this next part of the story is actually a little bit unclear, as it's debated among Witcher fans whether or not Olgierd actually had the ability to summon demons before or after his encounter with Gaunter. So a lot of people assume that, right, so he knew how to summon demons, so he summons Gaunter. That's one possibility. Or he met Gaunter and Gaunter told him how he can summon more demons. That's another possibility. And another possibility is after he met Gaunter, he worked out how to summon demons as a way to try and combat Gaunter and try and work out a way to banish him. There's three options there, and none of them are explicitly confirmed. So no matter what you comment about, oh no, this is true, no one knows, and I have checked this a lot. And you can't argue with this part. So as I'm saying, take this next part with a grain of salt. So after all these misfortunes, Olgierd either summoned or somehow encountered Gaunter O'dimm and pleaded for his help. Gaunter, of course, was quite happy to assist him, and agreed to fulfill his each and every desire. But, that's a word that we used far too often when we describe Gaunter. But, Olgierd would have to sacrifice somebody he loved. Gaunter asked him if he would rather have Iris or Vladimir meet with an untimely accident. Olgierd, of course, chose the latter. The very next day, Olgierd and Vladimir's band set up a raid that actually turned out to be a trap by the Temerians. When Vladimir saw them coming, he fled and cowardly hid in a cellar. The Temerians found him and executed him. So obviously, Olgierd felt very, very guilty for his brother's death, as he'd caused it. So, Olgierd spread a rumour about that instead of his brother dying cowardly in hiding, he died fighting several opponents at once. I mean, even after the funeral, he felt this sort of eternal guilt, so he regularly visited his brother's grave and drank himself into the early hours, talking about things they did when they were younger and all the adventures they'd had. So funnily enough, even after Vladimir came back to life with the help of Gaunter O'dimm and Geralt, he never learned of his brother's betrayal. He just never learned of it. So I suppose you could say it's almost blissful ignorance. So after this particular event, Olgierd decided it was probably best not to deal with the trickster again and try and work out how to deal with the problems by himself. And due to his deal with Gaunter, he was soon back on track of repaying his family's debts. Things were looking up for the von Everecs. They were only a few weeks away from paying the debt, but then a man named Horst Bossodi acquired the von Everec debts and demanded full payment immediately. So unable to pay the debts, Bossodi began to auction off all of the von Everec's possessions. And hearing of this, Iris's parents annulled their daughter's planned marriage to Olgierd and instead accepted an offer for what they considered a more suitable offer from an Ophiri prince. So after hearing of this, Olgierd became enraged and uttered a curse, turning the Ophiri prince into a toad prince. He didn't realise quite how drastic the effects would be and did it purely out of rage. So after all of this, Olgierd's pact with Gaunter eventually allowed him to regain his wealth. And, due to the prince now being a large frog, Iris's parents had no choice but to let Olgierd marry her. Olgierd, however, had another aspect to his pact with Gaunter. So, in this pact, he'd asked if he could be immortal. Gaunter had obviously agreed, but at the cost of him losing his emotions, and turning his heart into stone. So Olgierd's now slowly losing all his emotion, and he is quite distant with Iris. Not fully, but he's starting to get there, you know, it's a slow process. So, after Iris and Olgierd get married and she moves in with him, he actually begins to want to get rid of the pact with Gaunter. He doesn't like the fact he's immortal, he doesn't like the fact he's losing his emotions, and he wants to just live a normal life. So you actually discover this in The Witcher 3, and what he tries to do is use his knowledge on Goetia, which is where you can summon demons, as a way to try and break his pact with Gaunter. He tries it, and what happens is he actually knocks some candles to the floor in the process, and burns down an entire room of the house. This obviously causes a lot of stress for Iris and Olgierd, and it doesn't work. You can't ever break your pact with Gaunter is the moral of the story. So, later on, Iris's parents come to visit them and tell Olgierd that they've paid off all his debts as a gift and they want them to have a happy life together and they want no debt and they just want it to be a nice thing for both of them. So what happens is Olgierd hears the news and he becomes enraged. And it's thought that he became enraged because he thought it was completely pointless that his brother had been killed, as this would have probably happened anyway, and he threw the notes into the fire. Eventually, Olgierd became so disconnected from Iris that her father actually demanded a divorce from him. This obviously enrages Olgierd as he'd been through so much already in his life, so he kills the father stone dead. So Olgierd's almost lost all of his emotion by this point, and he doesn't do this out of love, he does it as almost an obligation, as he feels as if he kind of owes it to her. So Olgierd uses his knowledge on how to summon demons to summon Iris some companions. So he uses black magic to summon the cat/dog spirits that you meet in The Witcher 3, and of course the caretaker. So meanwhile, Iris is feeling utterly depressed at this point and horrified about what her life has become. So she isn't very happy, Olgierd isn't, well, he can't feel happy or sad, he doesn't feel, and they're stuck with these sort of demons that are going to take care of Iris because Olgierd can't. So Olgierd eventually leaves to form a band of wild ones, to see the world and to try to fill the void that his stone heart had created. He wanted to fill this void with feelings of excitement and new experiences. So Olgierd just leaves. But as he leaves, he decides to leave Iris a rose, as a sort of memento for their lost love. He doesn't do this out of love, as I said before, he does it because he feels obliged to do it. So shortly after he leaves, Iris has a heart attack, or it's described that her heart bursts. Possibly because he's left, possibly because she just was so stressed she died, or possibly because she was very unwell. So the rose withers away as she dies, and she, as we know, becomes a wraith later on in the games, and you experience all that, and I'm not going to get too into that. So, after Olgierd leaves and he can't fill the void within his heart, he decides to try and break his deal with Gaunter and return to the way he was. So, he hires a professor in Oxenfurt to work out a way to free him. So obviously the professor fails and Olgierd is left in his immortal state. The professor fails because he realizes that Gaunter is an all-powerful being, and it's like trying to fight evil. You can't fight evil because it just springs straight back up in somebody else, possibly sometimes in yourself. So the rest of the story you know, because you would have played Hearts of Stone if you're watching this video, but I'll summarise it for you anyway. So, Olgierd decided it was time to end the Frog Prince's torment, so he hires Geralt to do so. Geralt gets captured by the Alfieri, and Gaunter agrees to free him. But he will only free him if Geralt helps Olgierd complete his wishes. So, Geralt completes the wishes, and Olgierd's end is up to the player. You can either offer your soul for Olgierd's, and if you defeat Gaunter in a game of wits, both you and him will be saved. Or you can simply give Olgierd to Gaunter and let him die, as you might feel like that's what he deserves after everything. But you've got to understand that a lot of the decisions made after the one with his brother dying were kind of out of his hands. You know when you start something and you kind of have to finish it? That's kind of probably how it was for him. So to end this video, I'll just tell you some very, very basic things about Olgierd, such as his nationality, hair colour, eye colour, race, and many, many other things. So his hair colour is described as tawny ginger, his eye colour is bright blue, his race is a human, he's a male, and his nationality is Redanian. His profession is he is a nobleman / soldier, and his abilities consist of horsemanship, swordsmanship, immortality, leadership skills, and goetia, which I may be saying wrong, but that's the ability to be able to summon demons, to be able to call on that black magic and do that. That's an ability that he possesses. So one thing I will say is that it's actually thought that Olgierd learned how to summon demons after his encounter with Gaunter, because he wanted to re-summon Gaunter and break his wishes with him. But yet again, it's not known if he had this ability beforehand and he tried to do this a bit later on. It's so sort of iffy, this entire thing, but that's what makes it interesting. So anyway, that's the end of today's video. It's been a bit of a long one, and I can tell already that this is going to take me a long time to edit, so I hope you guys appreciate the effort by dropping it a like. If you think I've missed anything, be sure to comment it down below, as that's always cool. And be sure to follow my Twitch. I actually streamed the full Halo Reach campaign over there the other day. I do a lot of Gwent versus you guys. You guys can literally just add me on GOG and we'll play a game on stream. Doesn't matter who you are. If you say, you know, hey, I've got Gwen, I'm pretty good at it, or I'm terrible or whatever, let's play a game, I'll be like, yeah, okay. Straight up, we'll just play it. It's fun. I also plan to do Halo 1 soon, so that'd be interesting for you guys to watch. Also, be sure to join the Discord. There's a lot of fellow like-minded people on there that love The Witcher. We chat on there a lot. We've had new people join. We've got over 150 members now, and the chat isn't too chaotic yet, so it's still fun to join. So be sure to join that. Also, as I said before, be sure to follow my Twitter, as it's a very, very good place. You can literally tweet me and I'll reply to you. I'll have cool conversations with you on there. You can follow me. You can see what I post. You know, I post my videos on there automatically. I plan to possibly do like some Q&As on there for future videos if you guys have any questions you want me to answer about Witcher lore or just about me. So be sure to follow me on there to stay in tune for that. And also, as always, a big thank you to the Patreon pledges. I'm serious, you guys are amazing. I say this every time and it just seems a bit kind of like, oh yeah, but it is a like, every time I look at that and every time I get the notification on my email, you have a new Patreon, I just think that person has clearly watched my videos and thought, I like this guy and I want to support him. And you know what? Thank you so much. Seriously, thank all of you that donate to me on Patreon so much. And if you want to donate to me on Patreon, support the channel, get your name at the end of every video like these awesome people, then be sure to go on Patreon and donate. You can donate even $1. You know, I don't mind. Donate whatever you want. It's awesome. Thank you. And also, the rewards that come with it is that you get your name at the end of every video, and you also get the rank of Grandmaster on Discord and get to find out what videos are a day early. So it gives you a bit of sort of that hype towards it, I guess. But anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to leave video suggestions ideas in the comments below, and you might get your comment on screen like that awesome user, and I will see everybody later. And actually, what I will say is watch my Witcher 1 playthrough, and also, if you're going to write a video suggestion, it'd be cool if you put video suggestion, then maybe like a dot after it or something, because then if I look for it in the future, I can literally just type that key search term in and find it, which means I'll be able to, it'll be more likely that I'll pick that video suggestion, if you know what I mean. But anyway, thank you guys, I'll see you all later. Have an awesome week.